Do big cats love catnip too? You bet they do. In the 1970s, zoologists from the University of Tennessee and the Knoxville Zoological Park gave catnip and smooth rocks sprayed with catnip extract to 33 of the park's big cats to see what they'd do. The responses were mostly positive. The park's lions and jaguars reacted most strongly to the catnip, even at very low doses. Both the males and females of these species responded the same way, but reproductive age animals were more sensitive than either cubs, immature adults, or very old animals. Tigers, cougars, and bobcats, meanwhile, reacted less strongly, and the park's two cheetahs never even approached the catnip or control objects. The researchers noted that the animals that responded to the catnip aren't ones that would normally encounter it in the wild, since the catnip plant is native to North America and Europe. Except for the cheetahs, the cats that didn't respond as much would encounter catnip in their natural habitat, and the researchers thought that the difference in the species' reactions might be because of the plant's novelty, or lack thereof. The animals that did respond to the catnip reacted in much the same way that domestic cats do, sniffing and licking the catnip or sprayed rocks, rubbing their chins and cheeks on it or rolling over and rubbing their body on it. The big difference the researchers found in responses was that, while domestic cats will usually respond to catnip for up to 15 minutes, and then take an hour or so of reset time before responding again, the big cat's response can last an hour or more, and they show the same response if they lose interest and then return to the catnip just a few minutes later. Check out some of these big cats playing with catnip below. Which is the largest national park in the world? A couple of folks have listed Northeast Greenland National Park at 927,000 square kilometers or 375,000 square miles, but the US has a larger reserve. The US has a larger reserve. It's not officially called a national park, but it is a national monument. The difference is that national parks can only be created by an act of Congress, but a president can declare any federally owned territory in the US as a national monument. Many national monuments have gone on to be declared national parks, and most are managed by the National Park System, although this one is managed by the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA. So you can decide whether you want to let this count as the largest national park. Even though its official designation is National Monument, it's a national park for all intents and purposes. May I introduce you to the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, 1,510,000 square kilometers, or 583,000 square miles, and almost all of it water, although it includes 10 islands. I don't say this often, but I appreciate George W. Bush for having created this monument in June 2006 as the Northwest Hawaiian Islands National Monument. Almost all of it was already part of the state of Hawaii, although no one was living on any of the islands. It includes some earlier refuges and monuments, such as the Battle of Midway National Memorial. It was expanded in 2016 to the edges of the 200-mile exclusive economic zone. The monument protects 7,000 species of marine animals, as well as birds and plants, including many endangered ones, and many fish and shellfish populations that have not yet recovered from overfishing in the 1980s and 1990s. You can learn more at the official Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument website. Why do Canada geese fly at night? There are actually very good reasons that these geese fly at night, and I will go over them with you. But first, I must point out that any goose you see that is carrying a valid passport from the great country of Canada may be called a Canadian goose. All others should be referred to by their actual name, which is Canada goose, or Branta canadensis if you prefer. I can't count how many nights at 10 p.m., at midnight, at 3 a.m., and any and all other hours of the night I have had that all too familiar honk 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 cacophony pass right outside my bedroom window as the familiar flying V formations of Canada geese fly over my home. Those V formations are quite extraordinary. You can't tell from the ground, but the lead goose is the lowest of the bunch. Each goose behind is slightly higher than the one in front of it, all the way to the last goose, which is flying the highest. They do this because of the aerodynamics of their wings. The only goose that is using all its wing power is the lead goose, point man so to speak. When that goose flaps its wings, it causes a certain turbulence of the air that's following the wing. The next goose in line benefits from this swirling air and doesn't need to apply 100% of its wing power. The next goose again benefits from that one, and so on down the line. Flying in formation this way adds 71% more distance that they can fly than when flying alone. So who gets chosen to be point man? You'd think the one with the map, or the leader, or the new guy? No, none of these. They actually take turns. When one gets tired, he will drop back so he can rest a bit and benefit from another goose's turbulence. When migrating, in good weather, with favorable winds, a strong tailwind, these guys can make up to 1,500 miles in a single day. Hard to imagine, but it's been done. They are migration masters. So, the flying at night thing. I've already touched upon one of the reasons they prefer the night. It has to do with that turbulence I just mentioned. You see, many other large birds, and these are large birds, use thermals to gain altitude and to soar on. Raptors do this. Hawks, eagles, etc. During the day, the landscape is riddled with all kinds of thermals rising from the ground, all depending on what the surface looks like below. How much heat was absorbed and stored from the sun, if it's dark or light, or even water. These thermals are great for raptors, lots of vertical air movement all over, but geese don't soar, and they don't have need to fly in circles. They have somewhere to go. And all those daytime thermals are a pain in the butt. Doesn't make for smooth sailing. Plus, they interfere with the aforementioned wing turbulence that they use to keep from tiring. At night, several hours after sunset, the earth cools and those pesky vertical thermals disperse. So that's one reason they like the night. Another reason for night flight is to prevent overheating. Makes sense, right? Nights are cooler, so birds that expend a lot of energy with constant flapping, as opposed to soaring, take advantage of the cool of the night. A third reason is also something I've already mentioned. Hawks, and eagles, and falcons. All those guys are diurnal hunters, meaning they hunt during the day. Which goose in its right mind would want to share the not-so-friendly skies with something called a raptor? Now, if you've ever seen flocks of geese on the ground and tried to get amongst them or feed them or something, you may already know how mean and nasty they can get. People have used geese instead of watchdogs. They are tough, especially on the ground. But falcons, hawks, and eagles hitting them from the air often spells doom. In other words, their goose is cooked. During the day, they often rest and feed and rejuvenate in the water, where they are safe from raptor attack, as long as they stay in the water, so given the choice, they take the red-eye, otherwise this can happen. Warning: extremely dramatic footage follows of a falcon-goose battle, also extremely exciting. Who will win? You'll certainly see Canada geese fly during the day, but the smart goose prefers the night. All migratory birds are split up into three classes regarding migration habits. Nocturnal migrants are the first classification, and they fly at night. This would include most of the seed-eating songbirds, such as sparrows and thrushes. They will fly all night, then rest up, top off the tank with food, and try to stay out of sight of raptors during the day. The second group is the diurnal migrants, who migrate during the day. These are often the insect eaters, jays, swifts, swallows, larks, etc. They benefit greatly from the daytime thermals during their journey, not for reasons of soaring, like raptors use thermals, but rather because these warm updrafts send up clouds of insects from the fields, right into the paths of the migrating birds, like a food delivery service. Most insects are so light that a gust of wind or a thermal current can lift them high into the air, and unwittingly, into the beak of a hungry swallow. And the third class of migratory birds are those that have a preference but actually migrate day and/or night depending on the circumstances. Canada geese and many waterfowl fit into this last category. Whether they're tilting their heads or exposing their bellies for rubs, dogs are experts at looking adorable. But these behaviors do more than elicit squeals from delighted humans. In many cases, they serve important evolutionary functions. A prime example is the playbow. If you've ever seen a dog crouch forward with its elbows on the ground and its rear end in the air, wagging tail and all, then you know what it is. The position is the ultimate sign of playfulness, which is important for a species that often uses playtime as practice for attacking prey. The playbow first evolved in canids as a form of communication. When a dog sees another dog it wants to play with, it extends its front paws forward and lifts up its behind as a visual invitation to engage in a friendly play session. Dogs will bow in the middle of playtime to show that they're having fun and wish to continue, or when a session has paused to signal they want to pick it back up. Playbows can also be a sort of apology. When the roughhousing gets too rough, a beau says, "I'm sorry I hurt you. Can we keep playing?" Play between canines often mimics aggression, and starting off in a submissive position is a way for all participating parties to make sure they're on the same page. It's easy to see why such a cue would be useful. The more puzzling matter for researchers is why the ancestors of modern dogs evolved to play in the first place. One theory is that play is crucial to the social, cognitive, and physical development of puppies. It's an opportunity for them to interact with their own kind and learn important behaviors, like how to moderate the strength of their bites. Play also requires the animals to react quickly to new circumstances and assess complex actions from other dogs. Another evolutionary explanation is that playtime prepares puppies for the hunting they do later as adults. Watch two puppies play, and you'll see them stalking, biting, and pouncing on one another, all behaviors canines exhibit in the wild when taking down prey. Of course, it's also possible that dogs simply play because it's fun. This is a strong case for why pet dogs continue to play into adulthood. Devoting a lot of time to play may be less advantageous for a wild species who spends much of its time hunting or foraging for food, searching for mates, or avoiding predators. Dr. Emma Grigg, an animal behaviorist and co-author of The Science Behind a Happy Dog, tells Mental Floss, "Many domestic dogs are provisioned by humans, and so have more time and energy to devote to play as adults. Wild canids like wolves, foxes, and coyotes tend to reserve this behavior for members of their own species, but pet dogs often break out the bow for their humans, or anyone else who looks like they might be up for a play session." Grigg says, "One of my dogs regularly play bows to her favorite of our cats."